Hopefully this new scientific information can be interesting enough, with the help of some images, for you to stay awake for the spectacular conclusions. But to fully understand the powerful conclusions, we must first take a very short journey through the amazing evidence that strongly supports the new conclusions. Understanding DNA is the key to all of this. The amount of information that could be stored in a pinhead's volume of DNA is equivalent to 2 billion DVD movies, or the equivalent of 4 exabytes of data. For perhaps a better perspective, the head of a pin is roughly the size of 3 small grains of table salt. Those 3 small grains of DNA could store everything ever said by every person on Earth for the entire history of mankind. The total number of events that could have occurred in the universe since the supposed Big Bang, over 13.7 billion years ago, has been calculated at no more than 10 to the 120th power, or 10 followed by 120 zeros, which is a rather large number. The calculation was done by Massachusetts Institute of Technology professor Seth Lloyd. Every time an atom bumps into another atom, or some other interaction takes place, this is considered an event. We'll keep this number off to the side as well as other amounts, since it will be important very shortly. To put this into some perspective, it is estimated that there are between 10 to the 78th power to 10 to the 82nd power worth of atoms in the known observable universe. This sets an upper limit on the number of more complex experiments that are theoretically possible. This limit means that an event with a probability of 1 in 10/40,000ths would probably never happen. Not even one small protein of 150 amino acids would form, and it takes many of these to form DNA. The problem, however, gets even worse. Many don't take into consideration the radioactive and dangerous materials that would also be part of the primordial cosmic soup, also known as Heaven's Kitchen, that would destroy the components to create DNA. This is already well known, and is why ultraviolet light is used to sterilize medical equipment. Since UV destroys both bacteria and viruses, ultraviolet light wouldn't be the only problem for the components for DNA to form. X-rays and gamma rays can damage and kill components for life, and this is why you have to wear a lead vest for protection when getting an X-ray at the doctor's office, and why the doctors don't even stay in the same room. Keeping this in mind, biophysicist Harold Morowitz, an atheist professor from Yale and George Mason University, came up with a much lower probability. He gave it a 1 in 10 to the 10 billionth power. This was the chance of a minimalist bacterium being assembled from a broth of all the basic building blocks, theoretically obtained by heating a brew of living bacteria to kill them and break them down to their basic constituents. Mathematicians agree that any number beyond 10 to the 50th power statistically has a 0 probability of occurrence. In other words, anyone believing that DNA was created by random chance alone is no longer using the scientific method. Perhaps by no coincidence, Francis Bacon, the primary scientist that is credited for developing the scientific method, was also a creationist. But Francis Bacon is by no means the only scientist to believe in creationist intelligent design. Isaac Newton and many other scientists believe in intelligent design. So what does biophysicist Harold Morowitz say to this? Although he is an atheist, he still argued in agreement that life was not a result of chance, and posited that there must be some property of available energy that drives the formation of entities that can use it. This sounds like he believes intelligent beings existing in another realm had a hand in the creation of physical life, doesn't it? Theoretical physicist Andrew Lin from Stanford University stated, quote, "We have a lot of really strange coincidences, and all of these coincidences are such that they make life possible," end quote. Most physicists don't like coincidences, though there are a few exceptions. Most physicists like even less the notion that life is somehow central to the universe, and yet recent discoveries are forcing them to confront that very idea. Life, it seems, is not an incidental component of the universe burped out of a random chemical soup on a lonely planet to endure a few fleeting ticks on the cosmic clock. In some strange sense, it appears that we are not adapted to the universe, the universe is adapted to us. Call it a fluke, a mystery, a miracle, or call it the biggest problem in physics. Short of invoking a benevolent creator, most physicists see only one possible explanation. Our universe may be one of perhaps infinite many universes in an inconceivably vast multiverse. Theoretical physicists contend that most other universes are barren, but some, like ours, have conditions suitable for life. Andrew went on to say, quote, "If we double the mass of the electron, life as we know it will disappear. If we change the strength of the interaction between protons and electrons, life will disappear. Why are there 3 space dimensions and 1 time dimension? If we had 4 space dimensions and 1 time dimension, then planetary systems would be unstable and our version of life would be impossible. If we had 2 space dimensions and 1 time dimension, we would not exist." End quote. The argument of a multiverse doesn't change things though, it merely moves the goalpost back and changes it from a physical to a non-physical problem. Even Albert Einstein said, quote, "Everyone who is seriously engaged in the pursuit of science becomes convinced that the laws of nature manifest the existence of a spirit vastly superior to that of men, and one in the face of which we with our modest powers must feel humble." Oftentimes people will argue with each other about the terminology used, not that the meaning of what is being said is actually different. For example, physicists will use the term multiverse or quantum realm, a spiritualist will say astral realms or etheric realms, and a religious person will say heavenly realms. But couldn't they all be referring to the same thing? Very few of these people have studied all 3 of these disciplines, but for those individuals who have studied all 3, the answer to this question is a resounding yes. All 3 groups are really speaking of the same thing, using different terminology that they are familiar with. The origin of life is about as good as it gets in terms of scientific proof for the existence of an intelligent creator, with many choosing to call this intelligent creator God. But the mysterious origins of life and DNA also prove much, much more, and will blow your mind. Stay tuned for part 2 in this series. Remember to subscribe to this channel for free, and tune in tomorrow for more daily strange news. Don't forget to support our sponsors. Take care, and God bless.